Hello YouTube, Bobby Crazy coming at you. I'm going to come at you with a new deck tech, and this is actually going to be a two-part deck tech because I have what you see here is the beginnings of Tempered Steel. Now, the first one I'm going to show you here is actually a new twist on it that I'm working on, and then I'm going to show you the one that I've run in F&M that has been actually pretty successful. So, first one here is what I'm calling Red Steel. And start off with Etch Champion. This is, other than Tempered Steel, is the most expensive card in my deck. Well, that Tempered Steel, one other card, but we'll get to that in a minute. But Etch Champion and Tempered Steel, it's so easy to get your Metalcraft. Excuse me. It's so easy to get your Metalcraft that once you have it, his Metalcraft ability is he has protection from all colors. So he's just a monster, especially if you've got at least one Tempered Steel on the field. He is ridiculous. I mean, just over the top. And I'm only running 3 of it right now, and I'll show you here in a second why I'm not running 4. Next, I've got the Glint Hawk Idol. Didn't realize how great a card this was until I started playing with it, because it is so easy to activate him in this. And then, you know, at the end of your turn, he automatically turns back into an artifact. So, you know, the only way they can kill him is when you attack with him. The rest of the time he just sits there, and unless they want to waste an Oblivion Ring on him, he just sits there as an artifact to help you get your Metalcraft. So, an absolutely wonderful card. And for 1 white to activate him, if for some reason you don't play a, an artifact that round to turn him on, it's 1 white to activate him, which in this is easy to do. I mean, especially once you get down to the Mox Opal, stuff like that, you'll have that 1 mana floating around somewhere. Next is Signal Pest. Doesn't seem like much of a creature being a 0/1, but for a 1 cost, he's great. Easy to get out turn 1. Along with a Mox Opal or maybe a Memnite, and bam, turn 1 you've got your Metalcraft turned on. And then to top it off, if you get Tempered Steel out there, he's a 2/3, and he can only be blocked by creatures with flying or reach. So essentially, he's another flyer in this deck, which is really awesome. And then on top of that, he's got the Battle Cry. So you move on to everybody else, and everybody else gets a +1/+0. So just that much better. So he's a pretty solid card. Next is something I don't see a lot of people running in Tempered Steel is the Perilous Mirror. I'd really like it if he was a 1 cost, but for 2 cost, he's a 1/1, and when he dies, you can use him to either put 2 damage toward the player or 2 damage toward a creature on the field. So it really just depends on the situation you're in. If the guy's got no creatures on the field, bam, shoot him with the 2. Or what's really nice is if you can get their like say somebody gets a like a Mirran Crusader on the field, and they don't have it pumped up yet, bam, kill their Crusader off, or whatever, I used one of these the other day to kill off a Fiend Hunter. After he took the damage, I killed the Fiend Hunter off and got my other card back. So he's kind of like my kamikaze of the deck. So the next one is a staple that every artifact deck should have. It's Memnite. It's a 0-drop 1/1. And with the Tempered Steel in the field, he's a 3/3, and it's such an explosive card turn 1, especially if you get a Mox Opal in your hand. You Mox Opal, Memnite, Signal Pest, or what's even more explosive is in my other configuration of this deck. But definitely should always have 4 Memnites in every artifact deck. Another part of the reason why I'm experimenting with this red-white configuration is I'm going to try running at 1, possibly 2 of the Jorkadeen, just because it's so easy to get Metalcraft, and with the new red-white lands, it allows me to run a lot more, red without sacrificing my white sources. So, a +3/+0 if you have Metalcraft, and he's a 5/4 first striker for 5, and you have to have 1 red to cast him. So, another reason to run this configuration. But it's an experiment. This configuration is an experiment, and I haven't got a chance to fully test this yet. So I'll see what happens with that once I get a chance to try to play him. I might, like I said, I might stick a second one in there just to see how it runs. Moving down to the next row, you got 4 Mox Opals. I know a lot of people run 3, but after play testing a lot, you know, I ran into 7 out of 10 times I wasn't top decking a Mox Opal. So, and you always want to top deck the Mox Opal. So I went ahead and put all 4 in, and now it's pretty much 90% of the time I get a Mox Opal first hand. So you always want to get one of these because it's so easy, along with the Memnite, Signal Pest, or you know, one of your other 1-drops to get your Metalcraft, and so nice. The other one, of course, Tempered Steel. Gotta have Tempered Steel. I mean, that's the name of the deck, you know. So it gives all your artifact creatures +2/+2, and it just turns everything on the board into a beast right off the bat. I mean, unless they counter this and they let you get it on the table, they pretty much let themselves lose. The next one is something else I'm trying as well. I've run it in some casual games, and it's actually been pretty torturous for most of my opponents, because especially if they're running, you know, humans, or like I've got a buddy that runs an elf deck, you know, a bunch of little stuff. This is just devastating to them. 2 cost, it does 2 damage. It's Whip Flare. It does 2 damage to each non-artifact creature on the field. So I mean, just ridiculous. If they've got a bunch of 1 or 2, you know, 2 toughness creatures out there, it just clears the board. And with everything I have being artifact, you know, it ain't gonna affect my stuff at all. So pretty sweet. And like I said, I haven't tested this in an F&M yet, but I'm probably going to here soon. Next, run 4 Oblivion Rings. Pretty self-explanatory. Probably the best white, you know, enchantment there is in the game, whatever you want to call it. Best control card in the game. I've seen a lot of people only running 2 or 3. I always want to get a hold of as many as I can in every game, so because getting 3 mana is usually not an issue. So I always want to get 2 or 3 or 4 if I can possibly get them all in a game and just completely shut my opponent down. Next one is Galvanic Blast. It's a 1-drop, does 2 damage to target creature or player, or with the Metalcraft ability, it deals 4 damage to target creature or player if you control 3 or more artifacts, which is really, really easy to do in this. So, you know, you get 4 damage. I mean, you're pretty much going to wipe out anything they have short of an Obliterator or something like that, or something that's really, really pumped up, or you just keep blasting them with the 4. So, you know, pretty devastating little card. I've seen a lot of people running it and stuff like Red Deck Wins and stuff like that, but they're only using it for the 2 damage cost. In this deck, you're getting all 4 damage, so most of the time. So really, really awesome card for 1 mana. Moving down to my mana base, this is something I'm still working on. I would eventually like to have 4 Inkmoth Nexus, but as it stands right now, I only have 1. So, but eventually I would like to have 4 of this. Moving over, I have 2 Clifftop Retreats that gives you the red or white mana. Comes into play tapped unless you control a mountain or plains. And I'm actually going to have my other 2 this weekend, so I'll have all 4 of those. In the meantime, I'm running 6 more mountains. Eventually, when I get the other 2 Clifftop Retreats, there'll only be 4 mountains and 4 Clifftop Retreats. I'm only going to run 8 red sources in this deck. So if I need more later, I'll figure it in. But right now, I'm going to get 2 more Clifftop Retreats and then run 4 mountains, and then everything else will be plains. So that's the first configuration of this deck. Like I said, this is one that I haven't really tested fully yet, so it's going to be something that I'm going to have to play with and get back to everybody on, see how it runs. I think it should do well, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause this. I'm going to set up my other configuration that I've actually run in F&M a few times very successfully, and I'll get back to y'all. Thanks a lot. Alright YouTube, this is I'll Be Crazy again, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at my other configuration for Tempered Steel, and this is the one that I have actually played and fairly successfully at F&M. I finished, hard to believe, I finished second like 3 or 4 times with this deck, and it always seems to be some kind of mana fluke as to why I don't win the whole thing, but you know, excuses, but whatever. But all in all, it's just been a beast, because normally, you know, best 2 out of 3, I'll go 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. and then there'll be some game where I'll have like a complete and total fluke, and for some reason I'll get shut down. But I'll get started with this. First off, I run 4 Etched Champions. I got my Jorkadine up there because my Etched Champion seems to be misplaced at the moment. But I run 4 Etched Champions, 4 Glinthawk Idols, 4 Signal Pest, 4 Perilous Mirrors, 4 Memnites, and 4 Glinthawks. And I'll go through and explain how this all works really easily here in a second. 4 Mox Opals, 4 Tempered Steel, 4 Dispatch, and 4 Oblivion Rings. And then for mana, I just run, at the time being, 19 Plains and 1 Ink Moth. Eventually, I'd like to have that 4 Ink Moth. So, just go back through these real quick. Like I said before in the other configuration, Metalcraft is so easy to do in this deck that once you have it, you get Etched Champion out there, it's pretty much, game over, because they don't have anything that can touch him short of like a Day of Judgment or something like that. And in my area, not a lot of people are running anything like that. So, you got Etched Champion. Like I said, protection from all colors once you have Metalcraft, and then as you get Tempered Steel, it's just game over. So he's my big beater in the deck. Glinthawk Idol, like I said before, really easy to get him turned, activated, or pay 1 mana and fly him in. If you got Tempered Steel, it's 4 flying. Pretty much the same thing. You're gonna beat him down in a couple turns. Signal Pest, essentially another flyer, and plus he pumps up all your other creatures, and he's an easy 1 mana drop. So Perilous Mirror, like I said before, I've got him in here because I just like his effect. Not only do I get basically a chump blocker, and if he can get pumped up with Tempered Steel, so he can become a 3/3 real easily, and then on top of that, if he dies, I get to shoot them for 2 damage. So nice to have that second effect. Memnite, like I said before, just another explosive card, 0 drop 1/1, and then Glinthawk is, it doesn't get the effect of Tempered Steel, but turn 1, it's just unbelievable, and I'll show you an example of it here in just a second of one of the things that's happened to me running Glinthawk. So Mox Opal, like I said before, just you gotta have it turn 1, 0 drop. And now, in case those of you who don't know, I didn't explain it before, once you get Metalcraft, you can tap it for any color mana, which is another good one in my red configuration. And then Tempered Steel, like I said before, it's the namesake of the deck, and all your artifact creatures get +2/+2, which is just unbelievable. Dispatch is like, I've used this in both ways. Its first ability, all you do is tap a target creature, but if you have Metalcraft, which is really easy to do in this deck again, it's you automatically exile that creature. So if they get something out there like a Planeswalker or something like that, you're using 1 white mana and you're getting rid of a Planeswalker. Just ridiculous. And then of course 4 Oblivion Rings. Like I said before, anybody that's running a white deck that isn't running, I think, as many Oblivion Rings as they can get their hands on, I just don't understand why they wouldn't be. That's just me. And then the Ink Moth is great, on top of the fact that everybody's you see it running Infect decks a lot, but the Ink Moth is great because if you're, for some reason, you're in that situation where you only have 2 artifacts on the field, you don't actually swing with it unless you absolutely have a clear avenue, but you just pay 1, activate it, and it becomes an artifact for that turn. So then, like, your Etched Champion gets his Metalcraft, and you can automatically, boom, you can swing him through and nothing can touch him. So, or if you just need Metalcraft for something, for some reason, like you want to use your Dispatch, turn him on, which I've done, turn him on, make him an artifact for a turn, and then use your Dispatch. So let me give you some examples of some of the reasons why this has been so explosive. Let's say turn 1, this has happened to me before, a top deck of Mox Opal and a couple Memnites, and then I've had 1 mana in my hand before. I've had 1 Plains, a Mox Opal, a couple Memnites, and then all 4 of my Glinthawks. Or 3 or 4 of my Glinthawks in my hand. I can't remember which one it was, but it went like this. It went drop my Plains, drop my Mox Opal, drop 2 Memnites, and then you just keep bouncing your Mox Opal or a Memnite with your Glint Hawks, and you're putting them all out there. So like turn 1, you've got like 6 or 7 creatures on the board, and I have pulled that off before in an F&M, and that's where the Glint Hawk gets his explosiveness, because early game, like especially turn 1, you top deck him, a Mox Opal or a Memnite, and you're getting 2 or 3 creatures on the board for next to nothing, because all you got to do, if you got a couple Memnites and your Mox Opal out there, there's your Metalcraft. You tap your Mox Opal for the 1 white, play a Glint Hawk. Pick up your Mox Opal to play him, put your Mox Opal back down, tap it again, play another Glint Hawk. So it's just ridiculous. And so like I said, early game, that card right there is over the top. And then later on, if he's not big enough, he's a good chump blocker. But 2/2 flyer for 1 is really, really nice. And then, like I said, the rest of the deck just builds on top of that. So, like I said, I've always finished top 2 essentially with this deck, and it's just been top 2. I think I finished 3rd once too. So, and it was like the first weekend that I built it. But every other time I've run it, I finished 2nd place. For some reason, I just can't quite get over that hump. So. But there you go. There are both of my configurations for Tempered Steel. Anybody has any suggestions for either configuration, feel free to give me your feedback. I definitely want to know anything that you think might put this over the top, make it that much better a deck. I've flirted with the idea of floating Chimeric Mass into this deck. I have 2 of them. I'm probably going to try to get 2 more, and I just trying to figure out. More than likely, I'll end up replacing the Glint Hawks in my red configuration with Chimeric Mass, just to give that last creature protection from the Whip Flare. So yeah, anybody got any like I said, any suggestions? Feel free to shoot me a message or post on here. Anything you think might make this deck better and put it over the top to help me finish winning that F&M. Feel free to give it to me, and I'll be glad to listen. But in the meantime, thanks a lot. Be sure to subscribe, favorite, like the video, and all of you who are watching this on Hillbilly Gaming and Painting, please subscribe. We're trying to get as many people on here as possible. The store that we're working on hopefully will be opening here in January, and at the same time, you can still contact me for any of your gaming needs. In the meantime, that way I can maybe help you out with either Magic cards or 40K or anything like that. So feel free to shoot me a message for any of your needs. Thanks a lot, and y'all have a great day.